It's hard to deal with legacy. No, not persistent and destructive game elements, resulting in a 17% increase in the worldwide scrapbooking and frame industries. No, in this case, I'm talking about the historic events that prime people's expectations of a creative endeavor. Forgotten Waters is the new game by acclaimed publisher and design studio Plaid Games, known for making extremely thematic games that often rely on situational mechanics to underscore specific narrative beats. This is the third game in their Crossroads series, beginning with the celebrated semi-cooperative horror classic Dead of Winter, and their less than celebrated and oft forgotten legacy campaign Gen 7. This is their second foray into exploratory swashbuckling after the much maligned Seafall, and this is their first title since releasing themselves from the bonds of Asmodee ownership. This storied and very public history documenting their evolution from scrappy newcomers to a dev team under a corporate monolith with strings of hits and flops and everything between along the way creates a sort of meta-narrative nearly impossible to escape from. But when Plaid Hat swings, they swing big, and Forgotten Waters is as much about defying expectations as it is reaffirming the creative roots that define the studio in the first place. At its heart, Forgotten Waters is a cooperative game about telling stories on the fantasy high seas. Each player takes the role of a pirate on a shared vessel in one of several scenarios that will have you exploring what lies beyond the horizon, chasing certain objectives, and striving to reach your personal piratical potential. To execute on this expansive story, gameplay takes place in four sort of tiers. There's the map, emergently populated with random and plot-specific tiles through a myriad of effects that you'll navigate your ship through, which designates your current location found on a corresponding page in a spiral-bound book, presenting your available player actions each round. Additionally, there are 7 jobs assigned amongst players as evenly as possible, representing the various forms of bookkeeping and cooperative measurements involved in maintaining your ship, such as managing the cannons, the current level of crew and their discontent, supplies and threat, and all of which affect possible narrative and strategic decisions. And finally, all of this funnels into and from a downloadable browser app which navigates players through each scenario setup, reveals and narrates story beats, and offers consequential choices and outcomes. Which sounds like a big, huge game, right? What's remarkable is that Plaid Hat, a company prone to bloat for the sake of thematic immersion, has managed to make their most cohesive system yet, bridging the gap between seamless mechanical fluidity and potent narrative delivery. For the incredible amount of potential divergence in individual and group narratives based on player choices, random exploration tiles, and skill check outcomes, the system feels expertly crafted to facilitate the story rather than becoming a clunky obstacle impeding it.
"Give me a drink and put it on me tab," you growl to the barkeep.
During each round, starting with the highest infamy player, a measure that is constantly fluctuating throughout the game, players assign themselves to tasks at their current location. The location could be battling a ship or exploring an island, visiting town, whatever, but still, there will be a list of tasks, some of which can only be performed by one person per round, others by several. After resolving these effects, you put in a round conclusion event which may check certain parameters and dictate whether you continue to stay here or move on, navigating your ship to the next area, which may lead to a discovery or inclement weather conditions. Players may have scouted to reveal potential encounters ahead, or you cast your fate to the wind and populate as you go. As players meet certain goals checked by the app, new plot-specific elements open up, but even when working in fixed plot beats, the game is careful to always make it feel like players are in control. The adventures are self-contained, dictating fixed elements and creating the parameters with which you play, but the freedom you are given to navigate and develop that story means that you could play the same adventure several times, and each time the enemies you encounter, the islands you explore, items you gain, and side quests you take up will be different. And while the game isn't played as a campaign, the unique characters you create each adventure take on their own arc, aided by personal story beats that develop as you upgrade your skills, and those beats use a Mad Lib style framework to inject player personality, connection with other characters, and a degree of goofy levity that makes the characters feel much more personal and realized than other games of this type. These systems are so well crafted to create rich and fun stories, but it goes beyond simple mechanics. Filling out your character's unique constellation to represent leveling them up, adding keywords to your ship's log which may or may not branch into side quests or scandals as you go about an adventure, even using the hilariously goofy pirate name generator sets tone and acceptance of the magic circle so that the story can do its work, and boy, does it. Forgotten Waters is easily some of the strongest writing Plaid Hat has done, which is pretty remarkable considering the sheer volume of text written and then narrated by the app. While it may not be the incredibly personal and at times devastatingly raw narrative work of Comanauts or the bleak and horrific prose of Abomination and Dead of Winter, Forgotten Waters manages to straddle between silly to adventurous to downright majestic with ease, nailing a playful, albeit annoyingly cornball, authenticity that capitalizes on the best parts of pirate fiction while still feeling uniquely Plaid Hat. But for all this, my biggest surprise came from how intuitive such a thoroughly expansive game felt. For a game with dozens of unique locations with their individual actions, several adventures, systems for upgrading player skills, initiative, resources, exploration, skill tests, rerolls, curses, accumulated threat checks, save points for breaking up adventures into multiple sessions, and pieces galore, the game is extremely easy to learn, easy to navigate, and in the rare case that we had to look up a clarification, the rulebook was direct, informative, and concise. For how much it feels like Plaid Hat is leaning into their eccentricities with one of their most ambitious games to date, this is easily one of their clearest designs, even compared to some of their more strategic offerings. Which is important to bear in mind. While Forgotten Waters gives you plenty of agency to make choices affecting both your character and the overall survival of your crew, this is a narrative-focused game. Yeah, there are lost conditions, yeah, there are skill checks and resources and tactical decisions galore, but this is a game about story. And sometimes story just happens, and your job as a player is to figure out how you and your crew are mechanically empowered to react to unanticipated events. What makes it so remarkable is the fluidity with which the immersive and surprising storytelling is woven into ambitious and yet reliable game mechanics, unfolding through equal parts strategy, procedural generation, choose your own adventure style narrative beats, and not to mention a pirate's share of luck. Plaid Hat has come full circle, having to prove themselves as a liberated independent studio once again. Still colored by expectations of every success and flop along the way, they've managed to kick off a brand new chapter, delivering what feels like their freshest and yet so quintessentially Plaid Hat game to date. It makes good on their long history of rich storytelling and ambitious situational mechanics without feeling bogged down by the pitfalls of those tendencies that can make a game unreliable, tedious, and obtuse. If this is the harbinger of what's to come from this veteran studio, then I can't wait to see what's next. It's immersive, sprawling, creative, and above all, fun. If you enjoyed this video, we have all kinds of other reviews, interviews, and recommendations via writing, podcasts, and video here on our channel and website cardboardherald.com. Our content is audience supported, so if you want to show your support, please visit our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Cardboard Herald.